So today's session, there will be a lot of overview on cloud and overview on how the application is designed and the architecture. And so there will be a lot of theory in today, especially. So firstly, good morning to everyone and welcome to our Oracle manufacturing session. So the objective of today, so this is the course objective, but this is focusing only on the objectives today. At the end of the course, you will be able to perform setups. You will be able to speak about how the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud fits in the whole supply chain business processes. And today we are focusing on very basic setup. That is, we will set up a manufacturing plant. Oops, I now see this is a plant. So it's a manufacturing plant. And we will create an plan also. Yeah, so today we'll focus on the plant and its setups. Okay, so this is the introduction. So what all manufacturing plant does, like how there's a defined phase wherein you set up the manufacturing plant, and in every plant you have your work areas defined, the work center, you create resources, you have a calendar which kind of tells you about the working schedules of the plant or of your resources which are associated to that plant and to that work area. We will see the like in the defined phase also comes the work definitions, like how every product is to be designed, how every product is to be manufactured, and then you can how calculate the lead times for manufacturing. You can also have a schedule process which automatically syncs if there are changes in the item structure, that is the BOM. If there are changes in the BOM, you can automatically sync them to your work definition so that when you manufacture that item, the changes are taken into account. Next is one monitor phase, like from the Oracle manufacturing capabilities. This is like the monitor phase. In the monitor phase, you can see the plant. You can, I made a lot of typos. And then you can see the work area, how the work center is performing. You have, so Oracle gives you by default certain, it's called infolets. Infolets is nothing but a graphical view of statistical data. And these infolets can be created by the consultants. And there are certain infolets which are provided by Oracle, which are seeded. In our manufacturing cloud, we also have a social network capability wherein you can communicate to the production engineer of the progress, to the production supervisor if you see things not moving. There is also an exception management and how do you handle the supplier operations. Supplier operations typically are when you outsource a certain operation, like if you want a certain testing or a certain capability which you cannot support in-house, we send it to a supplier to perform the certain operation on your product, and you continue with the rest of the manufacturing process. Our focus here is mainly on the discrete manufacturing. In the discrete manufacturing, we have a dispatch list. So using this dispatch list, typically a production supervisor, he schedules all the productions by just a few clicks, and in this way he can organize his resources, organize the work orders which are in queue, and prioritize them. Using this UI, we can also print labels. We can also have a work order traveler which kind of travels along with your work orders, and you can monitor all your resource transactions, the material transactions, and you can do, like these are all in the execute, like what all you can execute on a work order. And at the end, we have our costing, how each of your material, your resources, all that integrate to the costing application to cost it.
You said you will define a plan, right? So what is the org structure where the plant definition falls? It comes under business unit or where it falls in the structure?
I'm not sure if I got your question, but what typically in the implementations is done is the legal entities, the legal structures, and the business units are all defined by the finance team. And once those are defined, we as the supply chain consultants go and define the inventory organizations. Those inventory organizations, we mark them to be like a manufacturing plant. Like we can have the organization as an item org or an inventory org, and we can say that this inventory org is also a plant which has manufacturing capabilities. So that's how typically it's executed. The entity structures, the business units are typically defined by a finance guy. Was that your question here?
Yes, I think the answer is, I think, for everybody's clarity. What I understand is inventory org is defined as a plan, right?
Correct. And here there is also, like in the manufacturing cloud, a capability to have model one of the orgs as a contract manufacturing org, wherein if again you want to contract a work order to a contractor, you can create an inventory org as a contract manufacturing org. So that is also in your inventory organization setup, and that's typically when you want another contractor to complete the work order for you. Okay. Now this is the capabilities of the manufacturing cloud. In the manufacturing cloud, we can do an in-house manufacturing, wherein you're manufacturing at your plant. You can do a contract manufacturing, wherein you're contracting to a subcontractor who's doing the work for you, and he gives you regular updates. We will see how this is implemented. There is outside processing, where one or many operations is outsourced to another manufacturer. Using the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud, we can manufacture standard and configured products, and typically the flows, the business flows are either built to a plan that is based on a forecast or planning engine recommending certain outputs based on trends, or it is built to order. So built to order is where a customer enters a sales order and it decides that it wants to build a certain product.
Can you touch upon the standard and configured product?
Oh, yes, of course. We also will see the demonstration of standard and configured items. So standard, since you asked that, manufacturing a standard item is where the item type is standard. I will show you that. And it has certain components, and we get it manufactured. It integrates to the manufacturing cloud, and based on your work definition, it's built. Configured products typically is from where a customer can choose from the options inside an ATO model. So if you say a very classic example of an ATO model is your laptop or your desktop computers, wherein you can have, where you can choose what processing you want, how much memory you want, what is the screen size, what is the RAM, and the hard disk space. So you choose out of the given options. Like I can choose a 64 GB RAM, I can choose a 128 GB hard disk with a 17-inch monitor, and while you can choose the 15-inch monitor with a 128 GB RAM. So based on your selections, a new star item is created. So the same star item is popularly called as a configured item here. So you define an ATO model, I define all the options underneath that, and so I will define the 128 GB RAM, I will define the 64 GB RAM, all this under one ATO model. And when a customer chooses one of those options, it creates a unique star item. And there is a matching process. We will see all of that. I will cover that in the slides further, where it matches the star item and it generates the same star item or a new star item based on the matching. So that is how you manufacture a configured product. This is a functional architecture of where the manufacturing cloud is placed. Honestly, I wanted to make the slide more sophisticated, but yeah, this is what I could fit in for now. So now what I will do is I will talk about each of these boxes as to what information is transferred between manufacturing and event. So here in the cloud, you know how Oracle has designed the cloud and its licensing is you license based on the product and based on the components and the functional architectures within the product. So it could be that in your license, you're just taking like a VCP package, which may not come with, one of these, which may not come with purchasing, say, So that is how the Oracle's cloud subscriptions are prescribed. So you have to be aware of what your customer has prescribed, because a lot of business flows touch individual components, and we need to ensure that our customer has procured the license for each of them. So here, let's start with this box called product model. Product model is nothing but the place where you define your items. It's the product information management, and all the item details are shared over here. In the sense, it tells the manufacturing cloud the item, the type of item, the structure, the item structure, and what components are needed to build that item. If manufacturing does not have that information, it will not even know what it needs to build. And in this product model, we also associate each item to the orgs, and that is what this information is fed to the manufacturing cloud, and in return, manufacturing updates back for each item what are the lead times. It calculates, like there's a capability where manufacturing calculates the manufacturing lead time, and it updates back into the product model.
Quick question. So, if I understand right, product model is item definition, org assignments, and the whatever you call the item structure and the work definition. Am I right?
The work definition comes under manufacturing, but item structure, item association, all the characteristic of items, all the item related, your product related stuff. So of course, product manager model has a lot of capabilities in itself, where you copy orders, you have data quality, you have the change order processing. But relevant to manufacturing is this, the item structure, and the association with orgs.
Without work definition, how do you calculate lead time?
The work definition is defined in the manufacturing cloud. So in product model, it's not the work definition. The work definition is already there in the manufacturing cloud. And this is the planning central. So planning central, what it does is the work order scheduling, all those details are passed on between planning, because planning has visibility to every detail, every component, every resources which are being used. And based on that, it plans and calculates and schedules each of the resources. It could be a material source, it could be like your labor or equipments. And so the planning has a process of collecting all this information from the manufacturing cloud, and then when it runs its planning engine, it takes into account all the factors of how much a resource is being used, or what all work orders are planned, and how much resource consumption is going to be there. So based on that information, if there are new work orders coming in, planning has an idea of a resource is going to be available when.
So work order planning is nothing but you plan the tasks of the orders and prioritize the orders for the resources for the machines.
You don't plan, like what planning does is so basically you create a plan. The plan can be something that your planner has created. It can be from all the collected information, or it can be from a forecast. And when you execute a plan, and based on all the other setups, if it says, like if it's defined on the item that this item has to be manufactured, planning runs the plan. It sees that the output that this needs to be manufactured, and it creates a supply request. It's called a supply request because you're creating a supply, and it stocks the supply after the manufacturing process is done.
So there is a communication between supply chain, common component to planning center.
Supply chain common component, this particular box here on the right, is all the common setups, like, definitions.
For example,
it's all the,
where do you define forecast? Is it in planning central or where in supply chain common component?
The forecast is defined in planning central. The common components are your plant parameters, your unit of measures, your sub-inventories, your calendars, your shifts, what are the calendar, your working hours in the plant. So these are all the common parts of supply chain which can be fed into inventory and be fed into manufacturing, right?
By supply chain orchestration, do you mean like order management?
Actually, no. So okay, let me give you this detail about supply chain orchestration. Actually, very commonly there's a lot of interest around because the supply chain orchestration is a brand new product offering in the release 11, and there are two orchestration products from Oracle in the cloud. One is called distributed order orchestration and one is the supply chain orchestration. And yes, because it's something brand new, people are very overwhelmed with it. To put it in a high level, so I don't have distributed order orchestration here because it's not very directly connected to manufacturing. In the distributed order orchestration, you can say it orchestrates the demand. So distributed order orchestration is very closely tied to order management. So whatever demand it gets from order management, it orchestrates that. So you have a single view of your demand in the distributed order orchestration. It is typically called as DOO. And supply chain orchestration is a single view of all your supply in the Oracle Cloud. So in fact, it's a very interesting product, and I know when it was released, it had gathered a lot of attention because in EBS, if you want to see your supply, you have to get into manufacturing to see all the manufactured supply that is being created. You have to get into inventory to see all the stock that you have or the transfer orders that you have. And you have to get into purchasing to know what all are the procured items. But in the cloud, the supply chain orchestration workbench gives you one single view of all your supplies. And supply chain orchestration is something that sits in the middle, and all requests to create any supply, like it could be a manufactured item, it could be a procured item, or it could be to transfer something. Supply chain orchestration sits in the center, and when a min-max plan is run, the request goes to SCO, like supply chain orchestration is called SCO. SCO routes that request to inventory to create the transfer. You can also have a transfer item. You can have a back-to-back flow where you want to procure the goods that is requested by the customer. In that case also, when you place your order in order management, after scheduling, and it comes to supply chain orchestration to create the supply. And supply chain orchestration looks at all your item definition, your ATP, and your what is it called? The sourcing rules, and it sees, okay, this is defined as a procured item. It sends a request to purchasing, and it also sends a request to manufacturing if it's a manufactured item. So you can call SCO as a supply orchestrating product. And similarly, DOO and OM, order management, are the demand orchestration area. Now, if we see the quality management, in quality management, you share the inspection details, the inspection outcome with the manufacturing cloud, and it takes from manufacturing cloud your work orders, your resource details, and all the attributes it takes from the manufacturing cloud, and it shares the inspection results back into the manufacturing cloud. Coming to purchasing, what it does is it shares the purchase order details. This is typically used when we are using the contract manufacturing or the outside processing, because we place purchase orders with our contract manufacturer. So the purchasing application typically shares the purchase order details to the manufacturing cloud. So in your contract manufacturing work order, we can see all the purchase order placed with that contract manufacturer also. So the purchasing integration comes only these two flows, the contract manufacturing and the outside processing. The next is the supply chain orchestration. We discussed a lot about this already. This one will share your work order updates, the progress updates, everything. All your work order progress can be viewed in a single view in the supply chain orchestration. Though you can, of course, see it in the manufacturing area too, but even in supply chain orchestration, the work order updates are captured, like just in case there's a change in quantity or there's some material which is rejected. All that is also updated to the supply chain orchestration, because this is, like I said, it's a single view of what all supply you're creating. So if you have a supply chain administrator in your organization, typically in vast supply chain industries which have multiple manufacturing plants, which have multiple inventory organizations, the administrator gets a single view on all the products which are in process of its supply creation. The next is our receiving application, where you perform receipts, the put away, the delivery. So whatever is executed by manufacturing, you can receive the product and store it in your inventory or send it out to your customer. So from inventory management, the manufacturing cloud takes in all your lot number, serial numbers, on-hand quantity, if there are any reservations that you're creating, and all material transactions. All these updates are passed on from inventory to manufacturing and manufacturing to inventory. So in inventory, it's typically inventory and shipping. So when you're shipping out the manufactured product, it's also like coming under this box. I didn't put a separate box for shipping because it's like, ultimately it's all the same organization which is doing it. We also have an integration to the asset lifecycle management. Here we have to integrate from the manufacturing cloud. It integrates all your materials, your operations, and the transactions so that it can track the life cycle of that asset. Okay, next is cost management, which also we will cover sometime. Here it just calculates all your cost for the resources, for the material. So it takes from the manufacturing cloud your work definition, your resource, the rates, the work order status, the operations which are transacted, the resources which are transacted. It needs all this information in order to cost them. And this one also we discussed. These are all the common supply chain, the common setups where you set up a plant, you set up all the plant parameters, you define your default sub inventories, you define your unit of measures, what shifts your resources are available, and when they are working, how many resources you have. All these are like the common components. So this is how typically, in the cloud it's organized. Like I said, everything is a product or a box in itself, and all these integrate very seamlessly, and there are a lot of flows which are called like touchless flows, because you just initiate the order and till its execution it's pretty much touchless. So apart from all these integrations, you can also integrate the Oracle Cloud to external applications. So it's very common where in our implementations where the customers or their partners have an external application which you need to integrate to have your whole supply chain process for that customer. It's a very common practice.